Have you ever noticed how easy it is to lose hours scrolling through social media or playing video games? You sit down for a quick break, and suddenly, half the day is gone. But try studying for 30 minutes or working on something meaningful. It feels nearly impossible, doesn't it? This isn't a coincidence. There's a scientific reason behind this, and the answer lies in a tiny neurotransmitter in your brain, dopamine. Dopamine is often called the pleasure molecule, but its role goes far beyond that. It's what makes us crave things, motivating us to seek rewards and take action. When you pick up your phone and see a new notification, dopamine gives you that little push to check it. But what happens when your brain becomes used to these quick, effortless bursts of dopamine? Activities like studying or working start to feel dull and unappealing. This brings us to an intriguing question. Is our relentless pursuit of instant rewards pulling us away from what truly matters? And even more importantly, are we capable of finding meaning in the difficult things, those that require effort and patience? To answer these questions, we need to delve deeper into how dopamine influences our choices and explore its connection to our search for purpose. We all know what we should be doing. Studying for an exam, starting that big project, or even just going to the gym. But somehow, these tasks seem far less appealing than playing video games, scrolling through social media, or watching videos. It's not that you don't care about the important things. It's just that your brain has different priorities. And most of the time, it chooses the easy route. Our brains are hardwired to seek quick rewards and avoid unnecessary effort. When you grab your phone to quickly check social media, what's really happening is your brain anticipating small bursts of dopamine with every scroll. And it's addictive. In contrast, activities like studying or working provide rewards that are delayed and release less dopamine. So the mental scales naturally tip toward instant gratification. This raises an important question. Do we choose the easy path because it's genuinely more enjoyable? Or are we avoiding the hard things because we fear what they represent? Philosophers suggest that we often avoid challenges as a way to shield ourselves from existential emptiness. After all, when you're absorbed in entertainment, you don't have to confront deeper questions about your life or its purpose. But does avoiding hard things actually help? Or does it just take us further away from who we want to be? By choosing the easy path, we often sacrifice long-term rewards for fleeting pleasure. This doesn't mean seeking pleasure is wrong, but maybe we should ask ourselves, what are we avoiding by choosing what's easy? And what could we gain by embracing the difficult? These reflections lead us to a deeper look at dopamine's role in shaping our everyday decisions. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the pleasure molecule, but that description only scratches the surface. It's not responsible for making you feel good. It's what drives your desire. Dopamine is the force that pushes you to chase rewards and take action. Without it, the spark to do anything at all fades away. This was made strikingly clear in fascinating experiments conducted on rats. Researchers discovered that when they stimulated the reward center in a rat's brain with dopamine, the animal developed an insatiable craving. It kept repeating the same behavior, pressing a lever over and over again, even to the point of exhaustion. It stopped eating, drinking, or even resting, completely consumed by the need for more stimulation. On the other hand, when the dopamine system was blocked, the same rats became lethargic. They wouldn't even get up to drink water unless it was placed directly in their mouths. What these experiments reveal is that dopamine isn't about the reward itself. It's about the anticipation. Before you eat something tasty, your brain releases dopamine in expectation of the pleasure it might bring. This same mechanism fuels your urge to check your phone or scroll through social media. The mere thought of a potential reward is enough to spark action. But there's a darker side to this system. Your brain doesn't distinguish between good and bad rewards. It only craves more dopamine. That's why harmful habits, like drug addiction, can take such a powerful hold. Substances like cocaine and heroin flood the brain with dopamine, creating a cycle of relentless craving. The desire becomes so overwhelming that it overpowers basic instincts like self-preservation. While drug addiction is an extreme example, the same principle applies to everyday behaviors like gaming, social media, or binge-watching. The constant search for dopamine traps us in a cycle of short-term satisfaction, making activities that release less dopamine, like studying or exercising, feel unappealing by comparison. It's as though dopamine acts as the brain's priority system, giving attention to whatever releases the most of it. This creates a dilemma. Dopamine is essential for motivation, but it can also lead us into unproductive or harmful patterns. So, how can we use dopamine to our advantage instead of letting it control us? The answer starts with awareness. Understanding dopamine's role in our behavior is the first step toward breaking free from its grip. But before we explore solutions, we need to examine how our modern world amplifies the problem. We live in an era where dopamine is exploited like never before. Social media platforms, video games, and apps are meticulously designed to keep us hooked with quick, repetitive rewards. Every like, comment, and notification releases a small burst of dopamine, pulling us back for more. In many ways, we've become like the rats from those experiments, pressing the lever of our smartphones, chasing the next hit of stimulation. The problem is, our brains weren't built to handle this level of constant dopamine exposure. For most of human history, rewards came in more moderate doses, tied to actions like hunting, gathering, or social bonding. These activities release dopamine gradually and over time. Today, we're bombarded with instant gratification at every turn, creating an unnatural and overwhelming flood of dopamine. Over time, this rewires the way we experience the world. Simple, valuable activities, like reading a book, having a meaningful conversation, or working on a creative project, start to feel dull. They can't compete with the intense dopamine spikes of digital distractions. It's as if we've been trained to prefer the fleeting thrill of a notification over the lasting satisfaction of accomplishment. This cycle creates what feels like an unending chase. The more we seek high dopamine activities, the more our brains adjust, building a tolerance. We need bigger doses to feel the same level of satisfaction. And so, we scroll longer, play more, and binge endlessly, trying to replicate that initial high. At its core, this is more than just a biological issue. It's an existential one. Are we choosing these distractions because they truly make us happy? Or are we avoiding something deeper? By constantly staying entertained, we might be running from life's biggest questions. Who are we? What truly matters? And most importantly, are we living with intention or simply reacting to the endless stream of stimuli? If we want to reclaim our focus and find meaning, we need to pause and reassess our choices. Are we active participants in our lives or passive observers caught in a dopamine-fueled haze? The answer lies in a simple yet transformative practice: dopamine detoxification. In the next chapter, we'll explore how stepping away from constant stimulation can reset our minds and help us reconnect with what really matters. Dopamine detox might sound extreme, but it's a practical way to recalibrate your brain and reprioritize your life. The idea is simple. take time to step away from the constant flood of high dopamine activities like social media, gaming, or binge watching. It's not about eliminating joy, but about giving your brain a break to rediscover the value in activities that truly matter. Imagine dedicating an entire day to disconnecting. No social media, no video games, no junk food. Just a quiet day spent reflecting, reading, or going for a walk. At first, it might feel unbearably boring, but that boredom is the key. It's a sign that your brain is adjusting, resetting its sensitivity to dopamine. Over time, even simple activities like writing in a journal or having a conversation can become fulfilling again. The concept is rooted in how dopamine works. When you constantly flood your brain with high levels of it, your dopamine receptors adapt, becoming less responsive. As a result, the things that once felt rewarding, like hobbies or personal growth, lose their appeal. By stepping back, you allow your brain to regain its natural balance, making these activities enjoyable again. But dopamine detox isn't just a biological reset. It's also a chance to confront what we often avoid. When distractions are removed, you're left with space to think deeply about your life and its direction. This can be uncomfortable, as it forces you to face existential questions. Are you happy with where you're headed? Are you living intentionally, or just going through the motions? This ties into the philosophy of optimistic nihilism. If life has no inherent meaning, we have the freedom and the responsibility to create our own. The act of stepping away from distractions and embracing hard, meaningful tasks is a way of asserting that our lives can hold purpose, even in the face of uncertainty. Dopamine detox doesn't have to be extreme. You can start small, dedicating just a few hours each week to disconnect and focus on activities that require effort and patience. Over time, you'll notice that the pull of high dopamine distractions lessens, and the things that once felt boring begin to feel satisfying. Rebuilding your relationship with dopamine is more than just a biological adjustment. It's a statement against the superficiality of modern life. By choosing to detox, you reclaim control over your mind and reconnect with what truly matters. In the next chapter, we'll explore practical strategies to make even the hardest tasks more manageable and fulfilling. Once you understand the importance of recalibrating your brain, the next step is figuring out how to make hard tasks more approachable and motivating. There's no magic formula, but practical strategies can help shift your mindset and turn difficult tasks into manageable ones. It all starts with how you structure your activities and rewards. One of the most effective strategies is to reverse the order of your day. Instead of starting with easy, high dopamine activities like checking your phone or scrolling social media, tackle the harder, more effortful tasks first. Research shows that mornings are when we're most focused and mentally sharp, so it's the perfect time to prioritize challenges. By doing the hard work up front, you set a productive tone for the rest of the day. Another approach is to reward yourself for completing meaningful tasks. For example, you could give yourself 15 minutes of guilt-free social media time after an hour of focused work. This system trains your brain to associate effort with reward, reinforcing a healthier relationship with dopamine. The key is to keep the balance. The harder the task, the sweeter the reward. You can also integrate mini detoxes into your routine. Choose specific days or hours where you completely avoid high dopamine activities. These breaks allow your brain to rest and help reset your sensitivity to simpler, more fulfilling rewards. Over time, the things you once avoided, like reading or exercising, can become sources of genuine enjoyment. But making hard tasks easier isn't just about logistics. It's also about perspective. The philosophy of optimistic nihilism teaches us that has no predetermined meaning, which might seem discouraging at first. But this realization also gives us the power to create our own purpose. Every time you choose to embrace difficulty, you're crafting a narrative where your actions matter, even in a chaotic world. Reframing hard work as an opportunity, rather than a burden, can transform your outlook. Each completed task becomes a small victory, proof that effort leads to progress. And as you build momentum, even the hardest challenges start to feel achievable. By approaching tasks with intentionality and a strategic mindset, you reclaim control over your time and focus. In the next and final chapter, we'll reflect on how these choices shape not only our day-to-day lives, but also our long-term sense of purpose. Dopamine is undeniably a powerful force. It motivates us, drives us, and helps us pursue our goals. But when left unchecked, it can trap us in cycles of fleeting rewards, pulling us further away from what truly matters. Understanding how dopamine shapes our behavior is the first step toward taking back control and living with intention. The concept of a dopamine detox isn't just about cutting out distractions. It's about rediscovering what brings real value to our lives. By stepping away from instant gratification, we open space to reconnect with the things that challenge us, push us to grow, and ultimately bring deeper satisfaction. The journey isn't easy, but the rewards are worth the effort. Optimistic nihilism offers a profound perspective. If life has no inherent meaning, we're free to create our own. Every hard task we embrace, every moment of discomfort we endure, is a choice to craft a life of purpose, even in a world filled with uncertainty. So the question is simple. Will you let dopamine control you? Or will you use it as a tool to build the life you want? The choice is yours. Thank you for watching. And remember, every small step you take brings you closer to a more meaningful life.